Good afternoon from Titania's realm at Sacred Space. I feel like I'm yelling at you. I had to put a cotton wool bud. Oh, that's better. I've got clarity of auditory hallucination now. I had to put a cotton ball in my ear. I've got trouble with my eustachian tubes and they've been playing up for about a week and it's connected to my teeth. And I don't have any pain in the teeth. I mean, one sort of hurts a bit when I floss, but there's no ongoing pain. But it tells me there's an infection, and I will have to take myself, demand, insist, beg, persevere with Metro North because I probably need that root canal. I should have had back in May, but they deflected me. They being the admin staff. In the public system, hospital system in Australia, or at least in Brisbane, Australia, we are now under the autocracy and malfeasance of admin medical staff who are not even medical professionals but are making the decisions and hold the power over whether public system patients like me get to access adequate, respectful medical treatment and dental treatment. So I'm in a quiet rage about it because my ear filling up with some kind of fluid constantly and seeping, mainly my right ear, but a little bit on the left as well, tells me that I'm in trouble. And it's strange I have no real pain in the tooth, in the three. You can see towards that. 3 teeth, they all look black, so they're all basically dead. And I'm terrified. I don't want to lose all my teeth. And I did read somewhere along the way that it's a symptom of advanced Lyme disease, which also our medical establishment in Australia denies that it exists. But I have all the symptoms, including the gut issues, the autoimmune issues, the teeth falling apart rapidly in the last few years is indicative of that. And I know, I sound like a hypochondriac, and really I'm not. I really am a very positive person, and I try to focus on healing my mind, body and spirit and staying healthy and vibrant, even going dancing on the weekend, even though it exhausts me with my chronic fatigue and my gut issues and my arthritis and my asthma. It depletes me. I still force myself out into the world to dance for 3 hours, for the sake of heaven and I have to take this out. I feel like I'm yelling. And for the sake of exercise, just to jiggle my organs around enough to, I don't know, if nothing, my failing organs, my dying bladder, and now my ear and teeth and my gut, it's insane. But I jiggle everything around and I try and keep everything healthy and vibrant and strong and powerful in my core. Because being powerful in my core is the key to my survival on this planet at this late stage of life at 58. Power to the people. So, yes. Anyway, I'm dreading having to approach the dental hospital and demand a root canal because root canals are extremely painful and I'm dreading it. But it's that or I'm going to lose the rest of my teeth and maybe get sepsis as well. So I'll have to address it. And the fact that there's no pain, they'll give me the runaround and tell me that it's all in my mind. Tell that to my seeping ear. I've just watched a wonderful interview of Gabor Mate, who I have had cause to not agree with in previous videos in the past. But today's video, he was very humble and very sweet, and reminded the audience that all disease stems from trauma, in my case, varied and cumulative traumas since childhood. And I left comments on that video. It was the Diary of a CEO video, because interestingly, this morning, just as I was arising from the depths of sleep back into consciousness, I had, I guess, my inner voice, my inner spirit talking to me. And that energy, whether it was internal or external, was reminding me this morning, because I'd had to get up to pee a few times during the night with my dying, failing bladder, which is my new normal now. I get no real rest. I'm up at least 2 to 3 times a night on a good night. It's been a good week. I've only been getting up twice a night for the past 4 nights. So last night getting up 3 times was, not so good. But anyway, the voice in my head, my inner spirit, my Ka, the Egyptian name of soul, my I don't know who that energy is actually, but it talks to me as if it's an outside, an exteriorized person talking to me and advising and guiding me, and but really it comes from within my psyche. Was saying to me this morning as I got up to pee, when I awoke at 10:30 this morning, was saying to me, look, Tanya, they said, you've been very ill in the past 20 years, and yet you have managed to survive. And I said, oh no, it's really only been since the gallbladder surgery, in 2019 that I've been so very ill, which is, technically only 4 years ago. And the voice again said, no, think again. They reminded me of the suicide attempt in 2015 that was brought on by actual systemic oppression and bullying from within my own Jewish community, harassment at the casino back at that time, and a broken love affair, and brought on by the psych meds. In those days I was under heavy psych meds, under the control of heavy psych meds. And so the desire to end my life seemed the only logical option, given the immense stress I was living under in 2015. So it was completely understandable. And once again, as I politely refer to it, the gods vomited me back to earth and said, no, you will not be doing this. You have a lot more to contribute to life and the world and planet Earth, and you are here for a reason, and honour thy mind, body and spirit, and keep going. And so I did, until 2019, when I had that surgery for my gallbladder, which, by the way, I had been very ill with that gallbladder. They left me without that surgery, without treatment, for 2 years. It was completely evil and reprehensible what was done to me. So I had, a series of quite serious gall attacks between 2017, 2019, and which I thought I was going to die of those. So here I am, still strutting my stuff, even with a wonky ear now. So it's not really my ear that's the source of the problem. It'll be coming from the teeth. So anyway, spirit or entity externalizing itself as though it was a friend advising me said to me, no, go backwards. Go back before 2015. what were you struggling against in those days? And it brought me back 23 years to 2000. The year 2000, I really wanted to die because I was so heartbroken and devastated over the immense harassment and bullying of my mother's then boyfriend. Later, a few years later, she married that evil cunt. And the immense harassment and bullying and sexual dysfunction and cumulative trauma I had acquired in two awful sexual partnerships that had gone awry from the period of 1997 till 2001. I finally was able to detach from the second partner. Both those men had strangled me and had been so degrading and demeaning and awful, but the second one that I had met in the end of 1998, that had been actually solicited and manipulated and brought into my life by my mother and her then boyfriend, was the one that I had loved to the point of my own destruction and almost death. And that particular entity, that man, died in 2016 and haunted me. Actually, just as I'd just weaned off all my psych meds that I'd been on for 15 years, he haunted me. And the haunting occurred about 3 weeks after his death, and I hadn't known he died. So it came as a great shock when I discovered who indeed was haunting me. So 2000 was a very bad year for me. It was the year that my mother informed me that she thought myself and my half-sister were, and I quote, dirty little girls who deserved everything that happened to us as children. That was how she rationalised in her mind her bringing my godfather, my half-sister's, I guess, for a time, stepfather, into our lives and enabling and allowing him to abuse us as little girls. That's how evil my own mother was and is, wherever she is in the next dimension. I very much doubt she's changed, you know. So I'm waking up and feeling awful and being told and reminded of all these awful things and all the things I've survived back to 2000. And then I said, all right, so 23 years I've been ill because of trauma and abuse, horrific abuse, the stuff of nightmares, the stuff that many women in Australia each year have not survived, you know. And the voice came to me again. It wasn't so much a voice as a thought form. And they said, no, in actual fact, you were in survival mode long before that. And they brought me back to, you know, the previous events, leaving my marriage in 1995, being strangled, you know, and then getting involved with these complete monsters of men that weren't fit to call themselves men or even human. And I didn't want to focus on that because it's in the past now, and I'm trying to heal my life. Even of today, of even date, the 15th of October 2023, Sunday, I'm still trying to heal my life and step away from all that ghastly horror and malfeasance and perversion and evil and everyday sadism, and blossom and bloom and start my life fresh as a daisy, like a newborn, free of all the crap, right? And it's idealistic and a bit puritanical in a way and a bit absurdist, but it's a nice dream. the psychedelic dream that I've been living for 58 and a half years. Just over a half. 12th of April was my birthday, and it's now the 15th of October. So the voice reminded me, they said, no, go back. They reminded me of the horrific births I had with my children that was so abusive also. And then all the years I struggled with very bad asthma and very major depression, which was only really in the last 10 years, 12 years since I saw my current psychiatrist, my angel, my staunch supporter. Only in the last 12, going on for 13 years, was it diagnosed as complex PTSD. So I would go around feeling very ill and very vulnerable and very dreadful, being told, it's all in your mind, there's nothing wrong with you, you're just attention seeking, you're just weak, you're pathetic, and all this viciousness, not just from my family, my mother and stepfather and half-sisters, but from my community, looking at me with scorn and derision for not being able to get up and function and hold down jobs or study or make a career or succeed in life. I was seen as weak and pathetic, and not understanding or realising that I had already survived so much in early childhood. By the time I was 7, I'm already a living miracle, that I should not even be here. And that's not an excuse. Other people manage to thrive and gain degrees and have wonderful careers. Having undergone my experiences as a child, I'm not making an excuse, but perhaps they didn't have quite so much piled on in one go. Maybe they didn't have quite so much family dysfunction around them. Maybe they didn't have quite so much abuse, and maybe they didn't have quite so many illnesses and attacks on my body, including a serious car accident when I was a child. I mean, it was intense. So the dream, I guess it was a dream, or still between waking and sleeping, that twilight period, the energy, the voice, the thought form reminded me, it said, go back in time. And they took me all the way back in time to my very birth. And they said, you were a failure to thrive, baby. Even as a baby, you were dying, starving, and so enraged against the injustice of not getting enough nourishment that I would force my fist somehow under my nightie and have it caught up, and I would be trapped and struggling and fiercely fighting and screaming hell for leather for my basic right of survival on this planet, and for nourishment and for love and tenderness and affection and care. In utero, throughout my mother's pregnancy, she screamed with my father. So in utero, all I heard for 8 months, because I was born premature, was their screaming constantly. So, as I used to joke, I come from a family of screaming Mimis. And I had to survive all that emotional and heightened, histrionic, hysterical abuse as well as an infant, and well into childhood, until my parents finally separated when I was 8 years old. And by that time, I was also had endured 2 years of sexual abuse from the pedophile godfather as well. And then 8 years old, we went to Germany, and I was under attack by a pedophile on the Fair Star going en route to Germany. We actually, departed the ship at Rotterdam and caught a train to Germany. But that whole voyage, I was under such intense attack, this time by a stranger, a cabin steward, that I broke out in the most horrific hives all over my body and had a fever. And my mother took me to the ship's doctor, and he just looked at me and said, she's caught some kind of tropical disease, but we don't know how because we haven't arrived yet in the tropics. So this was how they obfuscated their roles, even the ship's doctor, because any moron worth his salt, or any medico worth his salt, should have and would have recognised that it was a physical response to trauma, and should have started asking the appropriate questions like, what is happening to you right now, little girl? But I was terrified of doctors even as a child, because I had been already abused by the medical system when I broke my wrist at 7 at a healthcare camp in New Zealand. Sent there for my health, for my bad bronchitis, asthma, came back with a busted arm, and the nursing staff had been unkind and discompassionate and cruel. And the same had happened when I was 4 or 5 years old, when I went to I was 4, when I went to Sunday school and got smacked in the head by a heavy wooden gate that some little boy threw into me. In hospital under observation for concussion, I was, spanked by a nurse who pulled my little panties down and lathered my behind and told me to stop crying because I was disturbing the other children. So I grew up with a reasonable, not unreasonable, fear, and not necessarily fear, but contempt and disgust and distrust and loathing for medical personnel. And here we are surviving, having just barely survived the COVID epoch that again was abusive and rancid and just awful. And I'm fearful of even accessing, pushing my cause, propounding my cause, dental treatment, because once again, after having 3 teeth treated in May, and still feeling not quite well and a bit off, quite frankly, when I contacted Metro North and said I will require it's expected that I will require a root canal. I'm just seeing how I go for now if it's not painful. I was again fobbed off by admin staff. This is what's going on in Australian society, the obfuscation of roles in our medical system, which is allowing admin staff to call the shots on who gets treatment and who doesn't, who shall live and who shall die. It's the equivalent of the SA and the SS lining up the Jews at the camps in Auschwitz saying, go to the right, go to the left. It really is. It's just in a more subtle, subversive way. So subversive that people are running around in denial going, oh, did I imagine that? Is it really that bad? Again, when I made the appointment with a urologist that my psychiatrist is paying for me to get an opinion on whether I'm dying with my bladder or not, I just want confirmation. I don't want to be dying. I really don't. I want at least another 10 years on planet. I've got a lot to do by speaking my truth and breathing and seeking love and enjoying what's left of my life on this planet. I don't want to leave yet. But again, the secretary said, oh, who's going to pay for this treatment? Which was actually ridiculous, because she knows who was going to pay for the treatment, because the person that's paying for the treatment also arranged the appointment for me via this female urologist who was kind and decent and noble enough to actually see me. But her admin staff asked me, who's paying for it? I said, well, I don't understand. You would know that my psychiatrist is paying for it. And they sent me a letter stating I need a rebate and all this nonsense. I said, I'm not getting a rebate from Medicare because I'm not paying for the treatment. If there's any rebate, it will go to my psychiatrist who's paying for it. It's outrageous. And then she said to me, oh, well, she said, we will need a letter from your psychiatrist's office to state that they are willing to pay. And I said, but he's already told you he's paying. That's why you've made the appointment. Like, none of it made sense. And then she kind of insinuated that I need to follow up and ring my psychiatrist's office and get his staff to write the letter to give permission for me to have this consultation, and as to who's going to pay, etc. And I thought, surely that's already been done. And then finally I said, well, actually, shouldn't you call my psychiatrist secretary and clarify this? Like, isn't it actually their job as secretary to communicate with the other secretary, not have patients chase up doctors and waste their time? It's insane. It's just insane. So then finally she says, oh yes, I'll call Des immediately, which I found very amusing, because the fact that she knew the name of my psychiatrist secretary tells me she was just playing some weird fucked up head fuck with me, right? It's just insane. So I didn't get angry, because there's no point in getting angry, because it's just some game that secretaries and the modern day SA unit are playing with public and private patients now. So I said, well, please do that. I said, because it's all been arranged to my knowledge. As far as I'm concerned, all I need to do is show up to the appointment, have the consultation, and go home. It's paid for and done. Then she very sarcastically said to me, oh, and going forward, should you require surgery, who's going to pay for that? Which actually technically is none of her goddamn business, since she's just the receptionist or the secretary. But, I appreciate that they might have been concerned about that, because surgery via a private urologist will cost thousands of dollars. I'm not naive. I do know what things cost. So I basically said to her, well, going forward, I said, one would presume, since I don't have the money for a private treatment, I'll be referred back to the public system, wouldn't I? And then she said to me very brightly, oh yes, oh well, that's good then, oh that's fine, see you on, and I won't say what date, because I don't want people to know when I'm not home in my house, because I need public videos, but see you in late October. And that run around with the admin staff is costing my psychiatrist $250, just for the urologist to have a look at me and decide whether I'm worth being kept alive or not, basically, or whether it's possible even at this late stage of neglect to be kept alive. And I'm terrified. I'm utterly terrified, not of dying or of death, but of the constant concentric spiralling runaround that I will get, being referred back to the public system, which told me to go home and die back in January this year, when I presented at the ED department at QE2, only to discover my patient record has been thrown out or destroyed or disposed of. I mean, it really is that horrific, which is why my psychiatrist felt, as he said to me, I want you alive, Tanya. He wants me alive. Why does he want me alive? Why little old me, whose life has already been so ghastly and horrific? Why choose me? I'll tell you why. Because I have a basic human right, like every other human being on this planet, to not just be alive and barely survive, but to thrive. And also he loves my courage and my defiance and my strength and my determination. And he also loves my heart that keeps beating, and my spiritual heart that reminds me in the morning as I'm waking up, you're dying, but it's not for the first time and it won't be for the last one. Look at all the things you have overcome since infancy, since your soul nestled into your physical body in utero. Look at all the things you have already overcome. What is just one more? Just one more. And I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I have people who believe in me, my psychiatrist, and a few very rare and precious friends. The rest have headed for the hills, of course. They've got their own stuff and their own agendas, but I have to be okay with that. Everything has its season and everything dies, including friendships and relationships. Sometimes you just need to let go, let love, and let it die. And try not to mourn what was, because at the end of the day, the last few years, it's all become quite toxic. And I was toxic too. Because I was fighting this COVID epoch, and I was determined to keep speaking to truth and to keep those I love alive and courageous and holding themselves together. And now it's all unraveling and all around me, and I don't have the power to keep them together and to have them choose me over and over again. They don't want me. It is what it is. So I went dancing on Friday night, and I went out in my full regalia. I wore my purple corset and my tulle skirt and big whole fishnet stockings and my studded boots and flower in my hair and my crystals and my opal pendant that I'm so proud of, and the chain that I made myself. And I wore my big sterling silver earrings with pearls that I'd cut out from a bowl about a year or so ago. And I was wearing my handmade rings that I also made myself from spoon rings, and one completely from scratch from a silver ingot. And I went out feeling powerful and beautiful and full of pride at my achievements, because in the last 3 years, even though I know my body has been failing and my bladder has been deteriorating, quite rapidly, and, my ear and my teeth and my gut and my ever broken heart that I literally screw together and reinstall each morning. I went out in full femme fatale, full regalia, feeling great, and I'd had that evening before I went out, I was questioning whether I would go out, because all day I'd felt very weak and tired. And so I was thinking, oh well, I said to myself, if I'm tired by 9 o'clock, I'm still feeling weak and tired, I won't go. This is how I talk to myself. I give myself permission that if I don't feel well enough, I can just simply not go, not participate. I'm reached the point of being gentle with myself now because I know how ill I really am. But I had a cup of coffee around about 8:30 in the evening, and in the grounds of the cup, at the base of the cup, there was images, and quite clearly the word love formed out of the coffee grounds. And it's happened like that before, that the spirits have shown me the word love in my coffee grounds or tea grounds, tea residue from the tea bags. So I had to kind of chuckle to myself. And so I said to myself, you go out, girl, you go out tonight because you have love around you, surrounding you, and you are protected and you are cared for and you will have a lovely time. And the negative angel, the negative part of my psyche said, oh, but you know, you don't feel that well and it's risk-taking. And yes, the cup might say love, but it might not mean tonight. It might mean some later stage in life, weeks or months down the track. And don't assume because your mug is showing you love that you're safe and, you know, you might not have a good night and blah, blah, blah. And so I just said, that's enough of you, to the negative angel in my psyche, which quite often will win if I allow it. I said, that's enough out of you. I'm going to dress up, show up, and I'm going to have a wild old time. And if things are toxic and evil and weird, as it was the first time I went to that club, I am a powerful, courageous, defiant, wild witch, and I will manage it as I did, 6 weeks ago. So I did. I went out and I said to and then I was worried about car parking because it cost me $11 at the Uptown car park. It used to be the Maya Centre. And $11 isn't a lot, but that's a drink. And I resent paying. I've been paying it for the last 5 weeks, but I thought, no, I resent it. I'm a bit short on money. I need to stretch my funds. So I'll park on the street somewhere. I'll find free parking, which I did. I found a park quite close to where the club is, only like a 4-5 minute walk from the club. So that was great, It was like, oh, the universe is showing me all systems go, baby. You're not only getting free parking, but you found parking that's convenient and close by. So this is permission from the universe to go out and have a wild, wonderful time. So I walked into the club and ordered a drink. And the next lovely thing that happened was, unexpectedly, the barman that was serving me was pouring my drink, with the mixer for the Coke, that mixes the gas with the syrup, and it had run out of syrup, so it was all watery and not much bubbles in it. And he looked quite astonished and upset. So he said to me, "Just one moment, love," and I went, "No worries," And so he went away and he came back, and I don't know, he must have had to switch something over or do something to get the mixer to work. So he'd already had poured the Jack Daniels in the mix that didn't work. Glass was sitting there. And he said to me, I'm going to make you another drink, but you will only pay for the one, the good one. And he said, and it's up to you if you want to have the other drink that I poured. He said, if you want that, you can have that for free. I won't charge you. Which was very kind because it still had the Jack Daniels in it, which was the most important part of the drink, like the expensive part. So very sweet, very kind. So I looked at him, I said, oh, thank you very much. So I paid, and I did decide to drink both drinks because 2 drinks for the price of one, even though one was a bit watery, right? It tasted okay. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too, I was quite delighted. So I took my 2 drinks and I went to, the table near where the band is, and stood there and was very happily, cheerfully drinking my drink, thinking, well, that's 2 Mitsuas, 2 bargains, 2 blessings that came my way this evening. The free drink, that was, technically should have been thrown out, but as I said, there was nothing wrong with the spirits that were in it, and the free parking. And I thought, oh, my night has been generous to me, and it was a very loving act to give me that drink extra for free. So there was the love component. And so I stood there, and then another lady came and sort of looked at me a bit funny, and not hostile, but just gave me a sort of a checking out kind of look. And she was dancing with 2 men, which I assumed she was with the men, but it turned out she wasn't with them. She was just dancing with them. And they were dancing joyously with her, and she was, very energetic, very exuberant dancer, which I observed and I liked. And she said, how are you going? And I went, oh, I'm great. I just got here. I'm just having my drink. And anyway, so she was a very nice woman. And later on, we were sitting together and we struck up a conversation. And her name is Aurelia, and her friend was, I thought her friend said Diana, but I think she might have said Viana. But anyway, I'm not sure about what her friend's name was. And I made a bit of a faux pas because her friend looked quite young, and I thought they were mother and daughter. Not that Aurelia looked old, but I don't know why. I just made it. I said, oh, is this your daughter? She looked at me in horror and she said, no, I'm not that young. We're just friends. And I said, oh, you're friends? I said, I didn't mean to insult you. I said, and you don't look old, Aurelia, but I said, I just, for some reason, thought you were mother and daughter, which was strange. Anyway, they were lovely. They were both from Romania, those women, and they didn't take offence about my faux pas. They just smiled and, nodded and still chatted to me a bit, And anyway, there was one man that had taken a shine to Viana or Diana. I didn't quite catch her name. And he would just entitlite us, barge past us, and he sat right next to her and started chatting her up. She was a very attractive she wasn't young. I keep thinking of her as young, but she said, I'm not that young. I think she was in her early 40s. But anyway, she was a very attractive woman, very slim, brunette and hair pulled back, and very, very pretty woman. So I smiled because I thought he was cheeky, how he wanted her no matter what, and just pushed himself in. But anyway, I didn't buy into it because I don't know the man, and I didn't know, Aurelia's friend either. I didn't know either of them really. Normally at the casino, I would have said, what's going on here? But I thought, well, I don't know them, so I'll stay out of it, which I did, Anyway, he tuned her up for a while, and then she got annoyed, and then he walked away. And then I heard her say to Aurelia, he asked me for a fuck, and that put her off, They really are awful, these men. They're so crass. Instead of, after chatting to her for quite some time, saying, would you like my phone number? Would you like to go out on a date? No, they go straight for, oh, well, let's fuck. It's just rude. Like we're just dirty, scrappy, leftover whores, the way we're treated. It's abhorrent. But I could have told her that from the very beginning. He barged past Aurelia and I thought he's pushy, and he was. So anyway, after a while, Aurelia and her friend left. It was quite late in the evening because I dance till the band finishes, so I stay the whole 3 hours. So they left about 1, and the band finishes at 2, So I think they about 1:30 they left, and they said goodbye to me. And I said goodbye, and they said, oh, hopefully we'll see you again. And I said, oh, I'm coming here regularly now, so yeah, I'm sure you will. Nice woman, really nice woman. So there was the love again, making new friends, new acquaintances with people who were actually genuine and nice. And anyway, I observed that after those two women left, the guy that had been trying to tune up the girlfriend sat behind me and watched me for some time, sort of sulking, I think. And then he got up and sort of stood around, but not near me. And I thought, yeah, I hope you learnt your lesson, dickhead, about how to treat a lady, dick. So I thought, note to self, remember that guy's face in case he becomes a problem later on. But he may not. He might just be a one-off, you know. I might never see that person again. So anyway, but the other lovely things that happened that night... Oh, my tea's gone cold. I can't abide cold tea. So the other thing that happened that night was... there was a very young, very handsome young man looking at me. It was about halfway through the evening, just looking at me. And then he kind of waved to me and I kind of waved to him, and then he held his hand out, and he was with a group of his young friends. They would have been in their early 20s. And so I went over to him and he put his arm around me and, how you going, love? And I'm just looking at him because he was taller than me, very young. And I'm going good, love. And I went, what's going on here? And his friend was laughing because they could see that he was flirting with the old lady, you know, getting some sort of probably a bit of an in-joke amongst them. So he said, can my friend take a photo of us together? I said, sure, why not? God knows what they do with those photos. We don't want to think about that. But, you know, there's nothing dirty or depraved. We're just, you know, being friendly and out. And I noticed the guy in the band keeping an eye on me like this, worrying about me, which was sweet, very sweet. And so anyway, the young ones took a photo of me and I was kissing the young man's cheek. Oh, he was handsome. I tell you, if I'd been 30 years younger, that boy would have been, he would have been in real trouble. But when I was 30 years younger, I didn't have any confidence in my sexuality and was terrified, which is, sad really. Maybe 40 years younger. Anyway... a guy married an idiot and destroyed my entire life, right, at 17 and marrying at 19. What I know now, if I knew now what I knew then, my goodness, I would have been dangerous. But I was too afraid of my sexuality, and that's the reality, people. But anyway, so I'm hamming it up with this gorgeous young man, hamming and genuinely hamming because he's, you know, could be my son. And he was so sweet. He was like, Mum, come over. I was like, what? Oh, we want another photo. How many photos do you need? So I was kind of laughing too. He's like, the other one didn't work out. I went, oh, all right. So anyway, I kissed his cheek and then I'm wiping the lipstick off his cheek and he was loving it. He was actually a nice lad. I didn't get any creepy vibes or any malevolent vibes off them. They were just being silly, you know. Mum, where are you going now? I'm dancing now. So it was actually quite sweet. So there you go. There was the love. You know, I could have taken it that he had nefarious plans for me, but he was actually a nice boy, nice young man. His friend was like laughing, but a bit more cautious. And they were laughing so, and I'm looking at the friend like, you know, he took the photo. So anyway, so there was that. And then the guy in the band, you know, was very friendly and danced with me, and I got my fan because I'm punctuating all the songs with my fan, you know, all the lyrics at the same time as fanning myself because, man, I'm bored. And he was hamming up in front of me, and I fanned his crotch as I do for a joke. Sometimes they get offended when I do that, but I just went, and he went, you know, he knew I was joking, you know. And when I'm fanning their crotch, I'm actually like saying, you're a bit cool. Cool it, baby. But they take it sometimes the wrong way, you know. Anyway, he was good. He was good about it. He's a nice fellow. we had this kind of Cold War going on for many years. I don't know what that's about, but 2 weeks ago when they played there, I did up his shoelace, and he realised I'm not actually his enemy, and I'm actually quite warm and welcoming and friendly too, and I think he liked that, So he was very friendly to me last Friday night. He even actually stopped in his break and had a little chat to me and said, "Oh, this club is such hard work," and I went, I hear ya, it is hard work, but mainly because it gets so crowded. Anyway, but he's a nice. It was very nice of him to chat to me, and then his friends, which is funny. This is the funny part. I made a video, after my first visit to that club, and in it I mentioned this tall, blonde, heavy metal type with long blonde hair who'd been glaring at me, and I said, "Isn't it awful how crass people are? They're so judgmental and they're just nasty, and I can't abide that." Well, Friday night, that younger man, was actually quite warm and friendly to me too. And I was like, oh, that's odd, because he'd been really quite, aloof drama the first time I went there. And so anyway, he was dancing with his girlfriend, and I was watching because he's actually very sweet with her. He's taller than her. And he reminded me a bit of my ex Courtney, although he's younger and better looking and has a bit more couth, I mean, it wouldn't be hard to have more couth than my ex Courtney, but there is that. But it's just that heavy metal, long blonde haired, Nordic sort of Aryan vibe, I thought, oh, here we go. But anyway, no, this guy was actually very sweet, and I was judging him by his actions, how he treats his girlfriend. And so he's looking down and he's trying to kiss her, and she's looking up, and they're clearly in love. And I thought that was lovely. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I had someone that was in love with me and was nice to me for a change? But it's never happened in 58 and a half years. And as I say it, I feel this rock in my chest going, because it still hurts to this day how I was treated, in the past by men that I love too much. I'm still still haven't recovered from that, and I probably never will. Here's looking at you, Dave. But anyway, the funny thing was, yes, I know I need to let go. It's been 10 years, but that pain's never quite left me, and it is what it is. I guess it was just one more heartache too many that finally broke me, and from which, even after 13 years in therapy now, I still haven't fully recovered, and I guess I never will. And I have to be okay with that, I really have to be okay with that. Reaching acceptance that this is as good as I'll ever be now. But anyway, so I'm observing this good looking, younger, blonde, long blonde hair, and man with his girlfriend, and he's keeping me under observation, being a bit more warm in his personality towards me. And then so then I was sitting down after the two women friends had new women acquaintances, the two remaining women left. I was sitting down in the corner of the table, and I was only in the whole corner, took a photo of myself. I know it must have been before they left, because I took that photo at 12:30. But anyway, he's observing me, and there's this pole that we all joke about as a stripper's pole, and he's hanging off the pole and cavorting and pretending to be a male stripper, and I'm laughing I'm crying. Why am I crying? First I was crying about my heartache, and now I'm crying with laughter about his stripping persona, joking around. And so I was laughing at that. He knew I was laughing. It was actually hilarious, very entertaining. He turned out to be a nice man after my earlier judgment 6 weeks ago, him glaring at me in a hostile way. So anyway, it just shows you really need to give people a second chance. well, I have a 3-strike rule, 3 strikes and they're out. But he redeemed himself on Friday. I could see he wasn't actually a horrible person after all. And so then a bit later on, towards the end of the evening, he came over and he put his hand out. He said, my name's Mark. And I said, oh, I'm Tanya. And, you know, I can't remember what we chatted about. Nothing, you know, just you know, friendly inanities. And then I don't know how it happened, but I had a ring on that my fork ring. It has like, you know, I've bent the tines, but it catches. Well, I didn't think it catches, but it caught up, and his very long hair was caught in it. And his girlfriend was just saying something to me, just chatting to me, and then I looked at her. And he's looking at me. He didn't dare move because he could see his hair was caught in my ring too. It was accidental. I must have reached up because I talk with my hands, and it must have got caught in his hair. And I just looked at him in horror because the last time one of my rings got caught in someone's hair, it was my ex-lover Dave with his dreadlocks. And he was so fucking nasty about it and was like, ow, and screaming as if I was deliberately trying to hurt him when it was a genuine accident. I've never forgotten that, you know. Like, he really was a narcissistic fucking creep, wasn't he? The way he behaved, even when some simple innocent accident happened, like my jewellery getting caught in your hair, which, by the way, I wear a lot of jewellery, so if you're in a friendship with me, a relationship, there's going to come a time when that kind of thing's going to happen from time to time, and it's not deliberate and it's not done to be nasty. So don't react like a wounded fucking twat, you know. So anyway, how I know Mark is actually a nice man was he just stood there and I went, oh, I said, hang on a minute, I said. And I turned to the girlfriend and I said, I've caught him in my ring. And she could see, and I'm gently teasing out the strands of, luckily it's straight hair, and I'm gently teasing out the strands of his hair so I wasn't ripping it out in one go. Because I didn't want to break my ring, but I also didn't want to tear his hair out. And she's like, I said, just one moment, I've caught him. Pulling his hair out, and he just stood there waiting, but he didn't look angry, and he was so nice about it. And I went, oh, sorry about that. He goes, oh, it's okay. And you know, and I thought, oh well, this is the beginning of a nice friendship, you know, acquaintanceship with this man, because he's not an arsehole, and he took it very well in his beautiful long heavy metal hair, his Viking long hair. Mine won't grow any longer, but then my hairdresser who loves me keeps cutting it back, because I guess my hair gets all snarly and, you know, broken ends because I've got such fine hair, right? But I keep telling her, I want it to be long like a Viking down to my waist, and no, it just stays around this length. It's heartbreaking. Anyway, my new friend Mark, his hair's true Viking down to hair, right? It's absolutely beautiful. So, which is why I was upset that it got caught in my ring and I was having to extricate him. So anyway, that was quite delightful and funny and heartfelt, you know. And and that's how I discovered he's actually a nice person, a nice human, a nice man. So So then the next thing that happened was there was another man who was at the bar when I arrived. He's good looking. Actually, he's improved with age. I won't tell him that to his face because he'll get upset. But he was a nice looking man when I met him about 10 years ago, you know, when I used to dance at Irish Murphy's 10, 11 years ago. He was nice looking then, but he just, I don't know, he's gone grey and he had sort of a slight grey beard, and he just looks more dignified. Sometimes men look better as they age, you know. It's weird, you know. I don't know. Anyway, nice looking man. And he's short like me, and I did recognise him when I was at the bar, but I thought, oh, he probably doesn't recognise me because it's been years since I danced at Irish Murphy's or even the Elephant, you know. So, because I used to see the same crowd in both those venues. And for years I've danced solely at the casino, because I had my little spot and I felt safe there, even though there was a lot of bitchiness and sabotaging of all my romances and backstabbing and backbiting and nastiness. I just held my ground, had my little spot, and just went there more out of habit, really, than the fact that I was surrounded by positive, life-affirming people. Just saying. So anyway, you kind of have to laugh. I mean, it's awful when I look back on it all. It really is awful, but never mind. The dance continues. So I'm here at I just arrived at the club and I'm ordering my drink and I see this man. And I can't remember his name. I did used to know his name too. It's embarrassing that I can't remember their names, but I guess I haven't seen them in years, so maybe it's not that embarrassing. It's just my mind not being good at remembering names. I have to cut myself slack sometimes. I'm a bit hard on myself. So anyway, I'm looking at him and I recognised him, and there was a woman. When you're at the bar, it's very busy and there's not much room, and people push into you while you're standing ordering a drink, or they push past you and they're holding their drinks, and you worry about them sloshing their drink all over you. So I'm watching this woman worming her way through with her drink, and I'm just watching her with a frozen look on my face, because I'm expecting her to slosh the drink either on this man or on me, since we were side by side. And she's sort of grinning at me drunkenly, and I'm like, anyway, she brushed right. I think it was deliberate, quite frankly. She sort of brushed right against this guy, and sort of all the way past, rubbing against him as she moved past. And part of the reason is there isn't a lot of room, so she kind of didn't have much room. But it was kind of deliberate too. Like, had I been in that position, I would have tried to lean a little bit the other way. But rather than push into someone who's waiting at the bar, because they've got nowhere to go. We're wedged against the bar, right? So it was kind of comical. And so I'm watching her do it, and then she sort of shot me this cheeky grin. So I kind of had the feeling she'd done it deliberately, or she might have just been drunk and the grin meant nothing. I mean, can't always assume people. But anyway, I turned to this guy and I said to him, she's been wanting to do that all night. And he just went, oh yeah. He probably didn't know if I was being sarcastic or not, or if I was joking, but I was actually joking, making a joke of it. He got fully rubbed on all the way across his back and shoulders by this woman. But anyway, he just went, oh yeah, Anyway, so of course, as I said earlier, I went straight to the table and started dancing. Anyway, so later on in the evening, he was dancing near me. And he's dancing beside these two women that were, they were drinking and they looked like they were having a lovely time, but they weren't overly energetic. They're just being cool, And he comes over to me and he says, those two women are just so boring. And I looked at them and I thought, well, what makes you think that? I thought to myself. And I said to him, oh, really? He went, yes, it's one of their birthdays and all they're doing is standing there with their drink. He said, they're not even dancing. He said, they're just so boring. And I looked at him because I am nothing. I am certainly not, cannot be defined as boring when I'm out, because I'm like, what, going to town. Don't mind the side bit, Peter, it's all fat, darling. More held together by chocolate and hot chips. Haven't had either. Well, I had chocolate, but I haven't had hot chips for a while. Since, 3 o'clock in the morning and at McDonald's on the way home, and they weren't even hot and they tasted like cardboard. It was awful. I don't even know why I bothered going there. But anyway, I digress. So he says to me, oh, those two women are so boring, blah, blah, blah. Meaning that I'm wildly exciting, but he didn't know what to do with that either. So I just smiled, And then he drifted away, and then I said to the two remaining women, I said, he thinks those women are boring. I said, but then you can't get much more wildly exciting than I am. And I said, he's not interested in me either, so what does he want? And they had to laugh too. They were like, It's kind of funny, you know. But look, he's a nice enough man. He came and danced a bit later near me, and he was at the end of the night, he was actually blocking, you know, where you walk out from around the table to leave, and I was busting to go to the loo. So I had to kind of push past him and kind of went, thanks, ran to the loo. And then I left because the band had finished, and I don't hang around. I could hang around and dance for the DJ a bit longer, I suppose, but I'm done after 3 hours of dancing. I'm depleted and I'm done. And it takes me a few days to recover. So, yesterday I wasn't too shattered from the dancing, but I've had this trouble with my ear, which is a worry. And and today I actually feel quite good. Like, I'm a little bit tired under the gills here. My eyes feel dry and sore, but I'm not too depleted like usually in the weekend. I'm just history from my wild, joyous dancing. But anyway, I had a lovely night. So, there was a lot of love in the room. People were by and large kind. There was no nastiness. There was nobody deliberately crunching my feet, or there were no brawls like the previous week. There was no animosity, and, you know, I made a few new, as I say, acquaintanceships, which, is nice. And whether you see these people ever again, I don't know, but it was a pleasant evening out. So I left the club, and I went to walk back to get my car, which was parked close by, thankfully. So my intuition was on point Friday night, saying don't spend money on the parking building because it's a long walk there and a long walk back. And it's about 15-minute walk. It's not that long, but it's long when you're tired at the end of the night from dancing. And it's not particularly safe. There's like lots of little alleyways where somebody could jump you, and having been threatened with being stabbed in recent months, before I left the casino, I am hypervigilant, on high alert. So I need to be aware that, there's idiots everywhere, but you just don't know which night's going to be the night. You might run into an idiot that's got a knife or a hypodermic needle and might actually fucking stab me, you know. Thanks, George the Busker, for putting that seed in my brain and causing me to worry about that, because that used to be the least of my worries. Never worried about that in the past. So, but anyway, haven't seen him since I left the casino, so there is that, you know. So I'm walking to my car, and there's a younger man walking a bit further beside me, but not too close. But he turns to look at me, and he says to me, "Oh, are you going to the valley?" And I said, "No." He says, "Oh, can you tell me, is it a long walk to the valley from here?" He said, "No." First he said, "Can you tell me which way it is to walk to the valley?" And I said, "Just keep following your nose more or less straight ahead. You'll get there." I hope I'm right, and I wasn't sending him to New Farm. But anyway, pretty sure that in that direction you end up at the valley. And so he looks at me. He said, "Oh, how long is the walk?" I said, "Oh, well, I've never really done it, but I said, I'm assuming from here it'd probably be about, 15, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour." And he looked at me in horror, and he says, "Well, what if I order a taxi, and then you could come with me to the valley and we'll take a taxi?" Cheeky, I thought. So I just looked at him and I said, "That's a very lovely offer," I said, "but my night is done." I said, "I've danced all night and now it's time to go home." And he looked at me really disappointed. And then he was like still kind of following me a little bit. And I got a little bit worried, I must be honest. I did get a little bit worried, but fortunately I was nearly at my car. So I flicked on my car, unlocked my car, got in the car, locked my car from the inside, which I never do. So that tells me that I was actually a bit a bit wary, but not frightened, but feeling that I wasn't safe. Anyway, and so I drive past this guy and I just he waved to me. He's actually pointing to me because he expected me in his drunken, entitled state that I was going to pick him up in my car and drive him to the valley, a complete stranger who'd been following me up the street. Like, what level of stupid do they think women are, right? I'm not that lonely and I'm not that desperate. So, and he was a nice looking man, but again, far too young for me, and it was inappropriate, you know. And I'm not there to be used at the end of the night for a free taxi or a free ride in sexual terms either. Like used to happen back in the day where I was utterly exploited, used, and by the way, abused. So, no, that won't be happening. That won't be happening. So anyway, so I drove home. Well, I didn't drive straight home. I drove to McDonald's because I was really quite hungry. And I sat in my car and I ate my McDonald's and it was awful. I mean, the burger was sort of all right, but the chips were cold. I'm really annoyed because when it came out too quick, I said to the girl, "Oh, that was quick." She looked at me. Yeah, fobbing off their fucking cold chips on you that you pay. McDonald's isn't cheap anymore. It's like $15 for a meal, and they're fobbing you off with their cold fucking dried, stale, bloody cardboard tasting, did I mention cold chips? Honestly, it's just rude. So anyway, I sat there and ate that and thought, well, that's shit. That was probably the shittiest part of my night, actually. Shitty cold chips at the end of the night that I was actually really looking forward to. And then I got home, and I tell you, it's hard coming home on my weekend, my nights out on the weekend. It's hard coming home in the early hours of the morning and Beauregard not being there, or the cats. Charlie's asleep in her cage, in the studio. But she would never have greeted me during the night anyway, because she's always asleep. But I miss my dog. I miss my dog so much. Just having that presence there on the bed with me and the comfort, and it used to be like I go, "Mama's home," and I used to sing to him. "I love the thought of coming home to you, even if I know we can't make it." And he'd like look at me and smile in his doggy way and wag his tail and snuggle up to me, and I miss that, I've been craving Dave for the last 3 days, craving him like a drug. It's insane. The man wasn't even kind to me. He really was awful. And yet I'm still craving him after all these years, 10 years later. It'll be the 10th anniversary of meeting him very briefly at Irish Murphy's, at the Elephant on the 20th of October 2013. We didn't actually hook up until 2014, like 4 months later in February. And it was just a hookup to him, and I was just used, but it is what it is. I fell in love, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, and the spiritual attachment is still very, very powerful, because here I am 10 years later, still missing and craving that fucking dead dreadlock shit. And he's not dead, but you know what I mean, like deadlock, dreadlock shit. But anyway, I don't know why I'm craving that man. He didn't even date me. In fact, he made a point of telling me he would never date me, and he was just crass and awful. And here I was on Friday night surrounded by lovely men, and I could have even gone home with that young drunk man at the end of the night if I just wanted to be, just for the sake of human intimacy and warmth and, have a good rogering. But I can't go there. I just can't. This is the damage that was done to me, people. I just can't bear the thought of lying in bed with a man and having sexual relations only to be used once more. It sickens me. My whole body, it just runs through me like a burning fire of horror. I just can't do it. And I don't want to, and I don't have to, Back in those days in 2013, 2014, up until 2015, I was going home with people occasionally that I met because I was full of grief and ghastly horror, having just come through the awful will dispute with my mother, which finished in September 2012, and I was just wanting to be alive, be joyful, and find love, and be passionate, and be wild, and be carefree, and make love, and be a woman. And I did all that then, and I'm glad I did that then, I can't do it now because my body won't let me. My body and my heart and my mind says, no, enough being used by dead shits that didn't have your highest good and most beneficial intentions and weren't honourable towards you. It's enough, I deserve better. I deserved better back then too. I'm a lovely, lovely woman who's vibrant and powerful in my core, and I'm a Jew, and I'm a witch, and I'm a Viking, and I'm a psychedelic dreamer, and I deserve better than the crap that's been dealt out to me for 58 and a half years. I deserve a daughter that wants to be with me and treats me with kindness when I tell her I think I'm dying and I'm not feeling well, and I think this is it, kid. I deserve a friend that doesn't just have his birthday and put up photos of his old fiancée who's obviously dating again, and tells me the truth and treats me with respect. I deserve a new lover to come into my life that treats me with honour and integrity and respect and says, Tanya, I think you're wonderful and gorgeous, and I'd like to go out with you. Let's go out somewhere nice. And actually dates me before trying to throw his leg over and hump me and then go, oh, my wife, my girlfriend, my OCD, my narcopathy, my Machiavellian need to use and abuse, my bullshit like I got with the last lover. I deserve better than that. Way better. And I'm telling myself this as I'm verbalizing it out for YouTube, externalizing and interiorizing that I deserve better. And I deserve better health too. If I could turn my life around now at the 11th hour, as I have done in the past miraculously, then I will. If the urologist says to me, you're okay, Tanya, and you have a good chance of surviving the next 5 to 10 years, and I'll be contented with that. I really will, I know I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life and die alone, and it's overwhelmingly fragile making and vulnerable making and terrifying, and especially when all I wanted was true friends and a loyal, loving sexual partner and a loving family, and that's been torn from me at this late stage of life when I'm ill and vulnerable is the most profound evil of magnitudes of dimension that is almost beyond mortal ken. But I'm all right. I will keep dancing my weekly little dance, and I'll keep enjoying live music, and I'll keep staying true and authentic to myself, and I will keep searching for a safe landing for myself, even as I ultimately cede this body. and I will do it with grace and integrity and good humour and magic and mystery and wildness for as long as I can. So on that note, much love from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. Peace be upon us all, inner peace, world peace, making peace with what is, was, and always shall be, and accepting what is, was, and never shall be into my own body, mind and spirit, and allowing my body to fight for what is hers by divine right. Life, l'chaim, joy, truest, deepest, most profound, noble, joyful, honouring love, and as much time on this planet as the gods will decree and allow me. And they've kicked me back many times before, so I know what the gods are capable of against my own will back in 2015. They gifted me another 8.5 years, and just over 2015. Yeah, they gifted me just over 8 extra years. And in that last 8 years, I should have had true love and happiness and joy and peace and prosperity, but the gods had to factor in free will and choices that were made by awful, awful human beings that didn't have my back or my front. And the last 3 years, I gifted myself my attempts to succeed financially and creatively, really just creatively, because nothing really has sold. So the financial success failed miserably. But they gifted me the ability to make beautiful jewellery and take pride in my own creations and wear them on my nights out. And they gifted me with the ability to have insight and vision and clarity to help me survive the last 4 years of the COVID epoch. And they gifted me with the ability to heal myself 1,000,000 trillion times after every awful, heartbreaking, heart-aching destruction wrought by other men and other mortals. And they gifted me, mana, mojo, power. And I'm grateful for all of that. And I'm grateful for my future, however it manifests, whether on this earth or in the next dimension. I'm grateful for all the unfurling and unfolding and ennobling and blossoming that will come when I finally transition this body. And in the meantime, I'm grateful for all the blossoming and creativity and unfurling and growth and love that is already happening for me from now until the time that I transition this body. It's all part of the journey, and it's just a pity it took too long and it's too late coming out of the muck and mire of the unfurling lotus with her roots buried deep, deep, deep in trauma and filth to finally bloom. But here you are, YouTube world, bearing witness to my blooming. It's all bloomin' brilliant, innit, Dave? Anyway, that's wasted on idiots. So kisses to the void of the avoidant, and kisses to the incoming beauty and magic and mystery and awe that is my potential true love partner that will come one day, even if it's only in the next dimension. Blessings and much love and happiness from Sacred Space. Bye for now.